I call John Grady.
Madam Chair. Like many in this side of this House, I spent many years of my career in business, in my case as a lawyer. I have worked with some of the largest companies investing in the United Kingdom and some of the smallest companies in the United Kingdom, charities, third sector organisations and others. And what they value most of all is economic stability. What they don't value is huge increases in interest rates overnight and rampant inflation. And I understand how important it is to investors to ensure that the public finances are managed in a prudent way, which embraces and faces into the realities we face. And this is the foundation of this budget, Madam Chair, and this, of course, is the foundation of our approach to the difficult decisions the Right Honourable Chancellor has taken on national insurance contributions. Now, a number of the parties opposite criticise, and the Conservatives criticise in particular, that they broke Britain's economy, and we are left to clean up their mess. There's nothing clever or great about promising hospital after hospital being built and not having the funds to cover it. This is the politics of the Santa Claus letter. The budget delivered by my right honourable friend, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, delivers on our commitments to the electorate. It puts an end to non-dom tax status. It gets rid of the VAT exemption on private school fees to fund state schools, such as in Glasgow, and the national insurance contributions are also an important part of that financial package. It delivers a fairer, more sustainable tax system. And under the previous government, the tax burden was placed mainly on the shoulders of working people. And we heard from my friend, the member for Angus and the Perthshire Glens, a beautiful constituency, but that is precisely what the SNP are fans of, increasing income tax and national insurance on working people. We've seen that in Scotland time and time again. The tax burden working people face is absolutely enormous. If you work in Newcastle and you want to move to Edinburgh, you will pay more tax to work in the NHS in Edinburgh. If that's supporting Scotland, well, who knows? We are delivering on our promise not to raise taxes on working people. I'd like to make some progress, if I may. I've been waiting a long time. Our plans will not see additional taxes coming out of as a workers' pay slip. And we are supporting small businesses by doubling the employment allowance before companies and charities have to pay national insurance, protecting hundreds of thousands of employers from paying any national insurance at all. Changes to the employment allowance means that the OBR expects 250,000 employers across the UK to gain from these changes, and an additional 820,000 or so will see no change. This means around half of all businesses who are liable for national insurance will pay the same or less. Against that background, many businesses and charities in Scotland and in Glasgow will be protected against the increase. This strikes a fair balance. Now, as a Scottish MP, I must turn to Scotland. The context for this national insurance rise is around 1 in 6 Scots are on waiting lists for the NHS. I was contacted on a Friday evening a few weeks ago by a constituent whose wife was in hospital. They'd been married for around 40 years. He was petrified and devastated because there was no bed for his wife of 40 or so years after she'd had a stroke. That's the context of this national insurance rise. It is correct to raise taxes to invest in our health service, and that is the beginning and the end of it in many ways. In Glasgow this year, 172 teaching posts have been removed. That is the context of this national insurance rise. Our budget delivered the largest settlement for the Scottish Government in the history of devolution. £4.9 billion of additional funding and additional funding to cover the national insurance rise over the next 2 years. A UK government delivering for Scotland and giving the SNP the tools to clean up its mess. The changes to national insurance are critical to this additional funding, which will benefit the people, charities and businesses of Glasgow and Scotland. Despite this, the SNP repeatedly criticise our budget and our management of the public finances. This is, like some say of Christmas dinner, somewhat rich coming from the Scottish National Party. After almost 18 years of the SNP government in Holyrood, public finances are a catastrophic mess. A simple example, The replacement Arran ferries are hundreds of millions of pounds over budget and years late, making lives miserable for people trying to get from Arran and damaging the tourist industry. Madam Chair, I would simply say this. It would be unwise to choose Rod Stewart's We Are Sailing for the SNP Christmas karaoke, because no one is sailing under the Scottish Government's appalling management of the economy. The SNP, Madam Chair, have criticised our choices. This government has not been in power for even 6 months. The Tories were in power for 14 years, and the SNP have been in power for over 17 and a half years. On any view, the criticism of our budget after nearly 6 months defies logic, and the defiance of logic does not end there. The Conservatives criticise our choices, but they do not say what they'll do instead. And they have a shopping list of additional spending commitments, but they simply do not explain how they will tax it. How will they tax or fund those spending commitments? This is not serious, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we are having to make difficult decisions. The government is asking employers to contribute more. This will enable investment in public services, which is good for employers. We are being straightforward about the choice of, as regards public finances, spending, tax and national insurance. I say to the members' offices, cakeism is for Christmas. It is not an approach for a serious government or a serious opposition. The job of a serious government is making serious choices to progress the country and to allow us to invest in our public services. I'm obliged, Madam Chair.